Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Random Crafty Acts, or welcome to Random Crafty Acts. If you haven't been here before, my name is Barb, and I am a rather obsessive card maker. And my specialty here on YouTube is helping beginning card makers find joy by demonstrating basic techniques. This is the weekly sketch for freshly made sketches, which you'll find a link for in the description below. This is one of the sketches and the weekly aspect of it that I discovered when I went over onto Pinterest looking for card sketches. They come out with one every Wednesday, and there is a way to enter their challenge or whatever, and I don't know that there's prizes involved, but if you decide that that's something you want to do, I'm going to show you where you can look on their page. So this is on a blog spot, which is what we had before we had YouTube and Facebook. Okay, we had blogs. So freshlymadesketches.blogspot.com is where you would find this sketch, which is number 703. Okay, that's the one the one under that is what we're gonna mark on as we work. If you look down on that page, and the print here is not such that you would necessarily want to do a screenshot unless you can do it and blow it up. But when you get down on the page, there's a few simple rules, and then right underneath that says click here to enter, and it will walk you through the steps of how to post your picture of what you did with the current sketch. Okay. All right, one of the things about this particular set of sketches is they do not include measurements. So I've done quite a bit of work going into this one, but I'm going to show you how I went about it. This is my centering. I got this, I think I got it on Amazon. It's by Westcott. And see, the 0 is in the middle to make it a little easier for me. So here we're not quite at 4 1/4, but this is, and these are for A2 cards, which are, just to be sure, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I get mine by taking an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper and laying it landscape-wise in my cutter and cutting it 5 1/2. And then I can fold them in half, and I get 2 cards out of each sheet. Okay, and so I measured these out, this box out, to make it a little easier for us. All right. So then the next challenge here is what you want to do about the arch. Now, you don't have to use an arch, and they make that clear as they present this to you. But I knew I had a couple of arch type things someplace. So when I look at the way they have this here, that is about 3 1/4. Okay, and the height is a little over 4 1/4. And I'm looking here because I am not math oriented. I might go 3/8. Okay. And I wouldn't be too much of a stickler about that. It looks like the inside edge is right at 4, just like the inside is right at 3. Okay, so in here is 3 by 4. Okay. And then that looks kind of like a 2-inch. That's an 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. Okay. Diameter. Okay. And then they do the sentiment at 2-inch strip. And that is 1/4. Okay. Now, if you've watched me, you know that normally at this point, what I would do would be I usually put a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm working on my fall cards. I do a series of Happy Spring, Happy Summer, Happy Fall cards. Okay, so this was the sample card that I started with. And let me find just a random piece of paper to put behind there so you can see. Okay. And what I am working with, I have very few arch kinds of things, and the one that was really pretty was too big and the other one was too small, you know, just like Goldilocks. And so this is from the die set that I used one Christmas. I'll pull this out for you just and lay it here so you can see. I think I got it. I think it's a Sizzix. I made 70 cards. And if you look at all these lots of little bitsy bits that you have to cut in order to create this absolutely gorgeous, yeah, it is a Sizzix thin set. I don't even know you can even get this one anymore. Yeah, I made 70 cards, and I had a die cutting machine. I had my Big Shot, and I got a silhouette right after that, because I thought, I sat and I cranked these pieces for what felt like days and days and days to get enough to build a set, and they were beautiful cards, absolutely beautiful cards. Okay, so what I've done then for this card is come up with the idea that I'm going to take this, which is Astro Bright parchment. I get mine on Amazon. I've seen it at Walmart. Okay. If I use the solid arch piece and cut it this way, what happens is I get this. I didn't realize that the first time I cut it. I'd forgotten. Okay, so if I use this, then what I end up with is this cutout. Okay. If I do the cutout, then I can take these 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 pieces, and it's going to take a lot of very careful placement, and I'm going to put those on these using this parchment and put this in behind. And then I cut out a bunch of these little birds, and I cut them in red because I'm in Illinois and we have a lot of cardinals. Okay. And then I cut the little rabbits, and I'm going to put the rabbit down here. And then I still have some of these Happy Fall sentiments, and I'm going to have to cut those down to put those on the front of here, down here, which won't be a problem. Okay, so let's start into this. And this is one of those, this is way fussier. See, I've already cut all my little bits, and I've got them in this, especially to put these in so I don't lose that. So this is way fussier than I normally do for these card sketches, but we're gonna go for that anyway. So I have 4 of these. I've got these over here. Set these out of the way, and I'm gonna show you how I cut one of these. Okay, and then pause the video and cut the others. All right, so let's get my Big Shot in this frame here. All right, this is the front of the card. My mat is starting to get warped. When your magic mat gets warped, honest, it works. You take a heat gun or a hair dryer and you run it over it until it gets hot or warm. And then I put this together and set this thing on top of it, and it flattens back out. When I read that the first time, I didn't think that was real. I thought that was a come on, but it turned out to be correct. Okay, let's get this lined up here. So the center of the card is 4 1/4, so I want this at 2 1/8. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pencil mark because remember we're going to cut this hole out. Okay. And then this is 5 1/2, so I want this at center at 5 1/2. I want a little bit of space at the bottom. And yes, I'm being much fussier than usual. Okay, so that's 1 inch on that side. And that's 1/4 of an inch. 1/2 inch. Okay. And this is referred to as mint tape. I don't know where I got it. I'm pretty sure it's a scrapbook.com thing. And I probably got it free because normally what I use is the yellow low-tack tape that my husband has in his workspace. Okay, and I'm going to stick that down there so it stays on my card. And notice that I already have my sandwich in place so it doesn't okay, I think we're good. We'll go for it. All right, now I'm going to crank this back and forth a couple of times because those edges of the trees don't like to come out of this die. And I don't know whether it's because the die is getting older or it depends on what paper I'm using. But that is one of the things that happens with okay, and there's how it looks on the back. And there, see there's an edge right there that didn't cut through. All right, so I want to ease this out. Oh, that's the tape. That's the tape, Barb. Make sure you remove the tape so that it will come undone. And then once you get the tape off, just stick it on the top of your machine because it's still got sticky on it. Okay, so in this particular die, that comes out. Now, you can buy, they call them pokey tools or whatever. I just use a straight pin. Okay, so then that comes out. That piece comes out. This piece comes out. All right, this piece comes out. And that piece doesn't feel like it wants to come out. So I very seldom use this. I have seen someone who doesn't have one of the cutters or the rotary or anything, and she does all of her work with a crafting knife. I admire her greatly, even though I can't remember her name. Okay. That's my air conditioner. I mentioned I'm in Illinois. I'm in southern Illinois, and we went through a stretch where we were under what was referred to as the heat dome. And then we had this absolutely incredible stretch of weather where it was almost cold in the morning, almost. And around here we call it fake fall. And then and now it's heating back up. It's supposed to be back up in the triple digits this afternoon. And then I go ahead and clean this out now because otherwise I'm trying to get it to cut and can't figure out why it won't. Right, so I think what we're going to do is make one of these all the way through. And then I have a scraper that I just scrape all these scraps, and I go ahead and get rid of those now. Okay. Set this out of the way. Okay, so the next, because that is what we need to do when we're going to need it right away. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this way. Okay, and you'll see that once I do this, there's something else I have to do on the inside of the card. Okay, and I just slide this around until all of the pieces are covered. All right, now I still use wet glue. This is one of those times where the double-sided tape might work really well. But I'm going to put this, and remember that we don't want ink. It is not ink, it is glue. It is my thing for what, all right, so we don't want glue in here, right? Well, maybe we do. Yes, we do. So we can put the glue here. As you can see, it's been a hot minute since I've done this. Okay, and then we want this to cover there. Okay, and then as we are finishing these cards up, meaning as I am like figuring out what the inside of my fall cards are going to be. For my summer cards, I took pictures of my of the garden. Oh, look how pretty that looks. Okay, so we do want to glue all of this down. So it would probably be easiest to glue this when you have it flat on the inside. Okay. All right, so we have that. We're going to take our reversible tweezers. See, when you're not touching them, they're closed. When you squeeze them, they're open. So it makes it very easy to deal with little fussy bits like this. Okay, so I think I want the first cardinal here. As if it's coming off of that branch. And I'll get some more glue down in there. And then, since it's the same color paper, I can just like flip this over. It looks a little bit different from this side, but not enough that the people I send these cards are going to be so amazed at them that they're not going to notice that. Okay, and then we put that here. Okay, and then the bunny rabbit I'm going to put on the sign, on the sentiment. Okay, so let's cut the sentiment down. You can find them. There they are. Okay, so line this up here. I just want to cut a little bit at the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to use my Post-it note trick, where I put the post-it note here so that I've got something to hang on to and underneath here while I'm lining this up. Okay, all right, that worked pretty well. All right, and this is going to go here, and so that we have some dimension, we're going to use our brown dauber, and this is Vintage Photo, which is my favorite color to use for this. Now, you could also color the trees, which is something I didn't think about. So I'll show you how I'll do that. And I think maybe I'm going to go ahead and enter these. When I was looking down through the site, oh yeah, that's really pretty. Okay, let's set this over here, and I'm going to get that tiny little blending brush that you've seen me use before. I don't know where I got these. And let's see if we can kind of color in the trees. I don't know how I would do that. I think if I could do it before I glued it on the card, I could use a blending brush. It's just I wouldn't want to get the brown all over the front. So that would be, even as it is here, a little bit of a challenge. See, notice how I put that down and now I've got like a dark spot there, but trees are like that. And if I had done this before I put the birds on, I would have put a bird there. Okay, wow, I really like that. You know, you may be amazed that I'm kind of surprised at how that looks, but you know, I often don't know exactly how it's going to turn out until I think the rabbit looks better a little darker brown. And then he has an eyeball, so where's my tiny one? And you just take a pen and dab that in there. And if I could find my white pen, you could put a little white dot in the center. Okay, so we're going to glue this on the front, and then I'll show you part of what I will do on the inside of the card. So put that there. Pick up my bunny. These are what my rabbits here look like. And we have deer all over our yard. I mean, it would make sense to have deer in there too. Put the little bunny there. Okay. And let me see if I've got a I'm not sure what size this is, but I'm not going to glue it down just yet. But yeah, so I'll cut a 4 by 5 1/4 and put here. Now I can write on here, but if I take pictures out in the yard, we had some black swallowtail butterflies who cocooned in our yard, and I've got pictures of them, and so I will probably take pictures of those and glue those on the inside with a little note about that, and then some kind of a happy fall sentiment. Okay. So the outside is kind of plain. This is paper that I think maybe I got it at Hobby Lobby. I'm not entirely sure. I have a massive stash of paper of various sizes, and because I started out with this specializing in buying craft supplies. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause the video and work on a couple more cards and see if they come out any different, and I'll be back.